I'm very excited to welcome our next guest, Derek Hunter. You can find him on Twitter. And Derek, I might mess this up because it's a bit of a long handle. Reverend Dr. Jill Derek Hunter Biden?
It's close enough. It's just Derek A. Hunter on Twitter. The headlines, you can make whatever you want. But yes, I insist I got a degree in community college communications, and I demand to be called a doctor.
As you should. As you should. Derek is a writer for Townhall and various publications. He does a great job. And Derek, the first thing I wanted to ask you about, I found this piece very interesting. You wrote, "Welcome to the Resistance," and you kind of broke down this obsession with following norms that the Democrats have had over the past 4 years, and how as Republicans, we should continue a lot of these norms they've set up. Can you go through some of these and maybe start with my favorite one, which is it didn't take long for Obama to start whining about everything and that Trump should do the exact same thing?
Oh, well, if you remember the last 4 years, everything was Donald Trump is upsetting these horrible norms as if we were on the set of Cheers. Norms, norms, norms. It's horrible. It's terrible. Look at what they've done. And all he did was tweet mean things. He never really tried to legislate or enact through executive action any of the things that had them clutching their pearls. But, okay, if we have to adhere to norms, it used to be that former presidents kind of faded away and allowed the new president to be president. Barack Obama didn't allow that to happen. He was constantly commenting on everything that Donald Trump did right from the get-go. So it would only be right and fair if Donald Trump did the right thing. He wouldn't want to upset the norms that the left had established. So it needs to be that Donald Trump claims credit for everything good that happens on Joe Biden's watch and claim he wasn't even in town that month if there's anything bad that happens. These are the norms that the Obama team established, and since violating these norms so upsets them to the point of impeachment, then we need to maintain them. We also note that within 19 minutes of Donald Trump taking the oath of office in 2016, there was a piece in the Washington Post saying that the push to impeach him had begun. So we need to get the push to impeach Joe Biden underway, and we'll find out a reason or rationale for it later on, although we already have a few.
Right, and another one that you mentioned is everything is racist. That's a new norm.
Well, that's racist to even say. I mean, everything is racist. Donald Trump it's really kind of funny because this really found a home and metastasized into the media culture through Morning Joe. Morning Joe, Joe and Mika were friends with Donald Trump for years. Back when they were just dating and married to other people, they were big friends and fans of Donald Trump. Once he put that R after his name, they still elevated him, but they did it kind of because they thought he would be the easiest Republican to beat. Once he won, suddenly his hair came off and revealed a hood, that it was he was a secret Klansman. Now, how was it that Donald Trump happened to be friends with these people for decades, all of these people in media, and nobody noticed that he was a horrible, horrible racist? Well, because it wasn't true. But they have been calling everything racist. I opposed Obamacare, not because I was racist, but because I used to do health policy. I know a thing or two about it, and I knew it was a bad idea, but I was called a racist for opposing it. So if everything is racist, then everything should be racist, and we should just throw that around. So instead of trying to engage in a discussion, and I know you've had conversations with liberals where they immediately go, I can't refute that, so you're a racist, and they run away, take their ball, and go home, we should return the favor. Simply treat the left the way they've treated the right. These are the norms that they've started. It would be wrong, and dare I say even racist, to not do that.
No, and I agree with you, Derek. And I've actually used that before. Recently, I had a cousin who's, liberal, and she was telling me, oh, Hamilton's on Disney Plus. And I said, we can't watch that. It's racist. And she said, why? And why? I really like it. And I said, Alexander Hamilton, just Google it. It's in the New York Post. It's racist, so we can't watch it anymore. So I do agree with you. We got to start using these techniques when they fit our narrative. And really, I just didn't want to watch it, period. Another question I have for you, Derek, is something that drives me crazy, is the leaking.
Also cultural appropriation, let's be honest.
Oh,
If a school's dormitory serving Chinese food not made by somebody from Beijing is cultural appropriation and has like the Smith Collegeites up there running to demand justice, then everything like that fits that narrative is racist. So, and cultural appropriation. We've got to hold them to their own standards. They will hate it. They do hate it. But they created it. It's their bed. They got to lie in it.
Right. And revolutions eat their own, as we've often seen throughout history. Derek, my other question for you is about the leaking, because this has always driven me crazy since Donald Trump was president. There were so many leaks. And when there was this subject that I hoped there'd be a leak on, when it might have benefited Donald Trump, it was dry as can be, not a leak to be seen. So you're saying that now that Joe Biden's in there, we should really make sure that every any person in government should be leaking like a sieve.
They absolutely should. Look, there are 4,000 people who lost their jobs, and that's just not on the Keystone Pipeline. Those people are political appointees in government. They're being replaced by Biden appointees, but there are 4 million people who work in government who have access to all kinds of information. They cannot all be liberal Democrats. They will all be under scrutiny. Believe me, the Democrats, if the Obama administration was any indication, they will go to any length, including spying on Americans, to find out who is leaking. But we've learned that leaking is patriotic. I mean, look at Alexander Vindman. Look at the guy who wrote that anonymous book, now a CNN contributor. It is a heroic act, perhaps the most patriotic thing you could do outside of burning a flag at an abortion clinic. So you need to get these people out there so we know what's going on. Look, we're not going to get the truth of what's going on in the Biden administration from the media. They've already taken a nap. Glenn Kessler, the fact checker at the Washington Post, says they're not going to compile a database on Joe Biden's lies. In fact, he said that Joe Biden he expects him to be as honest as Barack Obama's administration was. And the only time Joe Biden tends to lie is when he goes off script, which from my reading is that means when he's left to his own devices, he's full of it. But, we always knew that about Joe. Still, he's not going to be held to any kind of standards by the press. So we have to have people on the inside telling conservative outlets, you take it to the Washington Post and they're going to go, this is not interesting. This makes Joe Biden look bad. You've got to take it to a conservative outlet. The truth has to be out there. It's patriotic as far as my understanding of the last 4 years. And they've set, again, these norms, keeps going back to that word, so they must live by them.
And it's hard. It would be even more difficult for Joe Biden to lie when the questions he's getting are about, ice cream flavors and, are you going to have a cat in the White House? If he lied about that, he'd be a psychopath. I mean, those are just basic questions.
Well, you got to remember Joe Biden lied about his own life many, many times.
That's
His
true.
first wife was not killed by a drunk driver. He didn't get 3 college degrees. He didn't get a scholarship to law school. He didn't win awards in law school. You name it, Joe Biden has lied about it. So that he would put, a bell on a dog's ears and call it a cat it's something I wouldn't put past him, but then again, it could also be senility. You got to be on edge for both of those things.
We need a Daniel Dale on the right to fact check some of these innocuous statements he says. Derek, I want to move on here to your other column, the dangers of leftist groupthink, because you brought something up that I never thought about. You were talking about how a lot of times these ideas that get really put into the mainstream as far as the left's concerned start in the fringes of talk and people kind of laugh at them. But you said Democrats are fine with working incrementally when they have to. Explain to people how this whole idea of shutting down free speech has been talked about for a while. People just haven't been paying attention.
Well, look at what's been going on college campuses. We, as people who either went to college and graduated and escaped in a hot air balloon or didn't go to college, we looked at for years the protests, the outrage, the rallies, the sit-ins and everything, and said, well, wait till these kids get into the real world. Then the cold, dead fish of reality is going to smack them across the face. And they wrestled the cold, dead fish of reality away from the titans of industry and are now beating them to death with it. And it has spread from there that Ann Coulter speaking somewhere on a 500-acre campus is a threat to some kid sitting at home playing a video game in their dorm room is ridiculous. But they managed to cancel events based on that. It used to be just the fringe. Now they're not only, when's the last time you saw Ann Coulter on TV? Now they're trying to cancel TV that they disagree with. Fox News, the Washington Post, their media columnist, Margaret Sullivan, has a piece yesterday, I think it was, saying basically Fox News, if it won't get in line, it needs to be destroyed. Max Boot, another columnist for the Washington Post, said they need a fairness doctrine to go after Fox News. He didn't explain how something that applied back in the 80s to public airways would apply to a private cable company transmission of a television image, but that's beside the point. They don't have to think when they're on the left. These ideas that were once we need to shut down, and bet you if you went back 20 years, 15, 10 years, looked at protest marches from International Answer and Code Pink, you would see signs at those things that are now becoming mainstream policy discussions on MSNBC and CNN. They start at the fringe and they work in. The left is very, very content. They've worked for 60 years to try to get something like Obamacare passed. They're content with that. Republicans worked for, 2 months? They held a vote on repeal, and they lost by 1, and they kind of just said, yeah, moving on.
No, you're absolutely right. The left's better at the long game.
The left is very interested in the long con. They want not only the content of your pocket, they want your IRA, your 401k, the title to your car, the deed to your house. Republicans want your watch. And if they don't get your watch, they'll go, I already have a watch anyway, and move on. That's the difference between the right and the left. They are willing to take a 5-yard gain and try and grind out on the ground, get 80 yards to get into the end zone, whereas Republicans, it's 3 Hail Mary passes, and if they don't connect, they punt.
Yeah, and Derek, I just want to say really quickly, you made a really good point with the whole fish and the college kids and beating them over the head with it. It would seem like if a lot of these companies, when all of this stuff first started to happen with snowflakes and safe spaces and kicking people off campuses, if they had just said, too bad, or we're not firing that person, we're sticking by that person. He made, even when people had, PR nightmares, he made a mistake, he's not getting fired. It could have really curbed this cancel culture. But now you're seeing with the Super Bowl that these companies are so afraid of these progressive nuts that they don't want to offend them. They're not even going to take out Super Bowl ads that they've taken out for the last 10 years because they're so afraid that their beer commercial might upset someone or make someone feel bad.
There's a beer commercial that's banned in South Africa right now with Gerard Butler that is saying that real beers don't need lime in them. And it is being banned for advancing gender stereotypes.
Oh,
because they say
God.
The subtext is that real men don't need, this is a real beer for real men. It all kind of started with Justine Sacco. Remember her? She's the anonymous Twitter girl who a few years ago tweeted, I'm going to South Africa.
Yeah.
I hope I don't get AIDS. No, I won't. I'm white. To like 200 followers that she all personally knew. And by the time she'd landed, she was the biggest story on the planet. Her life had been ruined. And a sick part of our society said, I like that.
Yeah.
I got to have more. And a political movement said, that could be a very effective tool against our enemies. And they basically took the business model of Media Matters for America and institutionalized it. Now, media outlets are going after other media outlets. Everybody out there, if you become too famous, they'll try to dig up your junior high yearbook,
right,
to see what somebody wrote in there.
It's gross.
It's gone insane. And the only way to stop it is to really, sadly, hold them again to their same standards. If you don't like being scalped, you got to scalp a few of them and say, well, we don't like this. This is sad. And maybe we should stop. That's the only way to do it, because otherwise it's submission. Those are the two choices, victory or submission.
Thank you so much. We're talking to Derek Hunter from Townhall. Another great, great interview. He has so many good pieces. Just for the record, to make it clear, we're not talking violence. It's all metaphors, and no one actually wants. I have to say this because Derek knows I'm going to get canceled next. Nobody wants anyone actually scalped. That's just for the record. So no one come after me, the mob. That's Derek Hunter, at Derek A. Hunter on Twitter. He writes some great stuff. If you've been thinking about getting away to the Fallensby Inn, please consider coming the weekend of February 19th. I'm announcing my first listener getaway, and I can't wait to enjoy a wonderful weekend with all of you that take advantage of this offer. So here's the deal, though. It's not just a weekend getaway and I'm going to be there. It's that you're going to get a deal if you choose this weekend. For just my listeners, you will receive 10% off for that weekend. Besides enjoying a cocktail by the fire, we will also enjoy Dennis's famous homemade breakfast. My first deal for the Fallensby Inn sold out right away. Everyone knows how much I love the Fallensby Inn, located on pristine Kezar Lake in North Sutton, New Hampshire. Dennis put so much attention into the design of the 17 unique historic guest rooms. They're absolutely beautiful. My parents, after I went, I just kept talking about it day in and day out. My parents said, all right, we have to go now too, because you will not shut up about this. And they went, and guess what? They're going again. It's so beautiful. It's quintessential New England, and everything at breakfast is made from scratch. It's absolutely delicious. This time of year, you can take advantage of the inn snowshoes and discover the beautiful area. To reserve your room today, go to fallensbyinn.com. Excellence is assured. fallensbyinn.com, the best of the past. Don't forget, guys, it's the weekend of February 19th. They did sell out. They have not sold out yet, but there's a lot of rooms that are already taken, so this will sell out fast. Check that out soon. We will be back on the other side. Don't go anywhere. This is The Grace Curley Show.
You can call her late for dinner. Just don't call her Gracie. It's The Grace Curley Show.